Book 9. The Book of Eternal Night. Canto 1. Towards the Black Void. At first, in a blind stress of woods she moved, with strange inhuman paces on the soil, journeying as if upon an unseen road. Around her, on the green and imaged earth, the flickering screen of forests ringed her steps. Its thick, luxurious obstacle of boughs besieged her body, pressing dimly through in a rich realm of whispers palpable. And all the murmurous beauty of the leaves rippled around her like an emerald robe. But more and more this grew an alien sound, and her old intimate body seemed to her a burden which her being remotely bore. Herself lived far in some uplifted scene, where to the trance-claimed vision of pursuit soul presences in a high, spaceless dream, the luminous spirit glided stilly on, and the great shadow travelled vague behind. Still, with an amorous crowd of seeking hands, softly entreated by their old desires, her senses felt earth's close and gentle air cling round them, and in troubled branches knew uncertain treadings of a faint-foot wind. She bore dim fragrances, far callings touched, the wild bird's voice and its winged rustle came, as if a sigh from some forgotten world. Earth stood aloof yet near, round her it wove its sweetness, and its greenness and delight, its brilliance suave of well-loved vivid hues, sunlight arriving to its golden noon, and the blue heavens and the caressing soil. The ancient mother offered to her child her simple world of kind, familiar things. But now, as if the body's sensuous hold, curbing the Godhead of her infinite walk, had freed those spirits to their grander road across some boundaries intangible bar, the silent God grew mighty and remote in other spaces, and the soul she loved lost its consenting nearness to her life. Into a deep and unfamiliar air, enormous, windless, without stir or sound, they seemed to enlarge away, drawn by some wide, pale distance from the warm control of earth and her grown far. Now they would escape. Then, flaming from her body's nest alarmed, her violent spirit soared at Shraddhavan. Out mid the plunge of heaven-surrounded rocks, so in a terror and a wrath divine, from her eyrie streams against the ascending death, indignant at its crouching point of steel, a fierce she-eagle threatened in her brood. Borne on a rush of puissance and a cry, outwinging like a mass of golden fire. So, on a spirit's flaming outrush borne, she crossed the borders of dividing sense, like pale discarded sheaths dropped dully down. Her mortal members fell back from her soul. A moment of a secret body's sleep. Her trance knew not of sun or earth or world. Thought, time, and death were absent from her grasp. She knew not self. Forgotten was Savitri. All was the violent ocean of a will, where lived, captive to an immense caress, possessed in a supreme identity, her aim, joy, origin, Shraddhavan alone. Her sovereign, prisoned in her being's core, he beat there like a rhythmic heart, herself but different still, one loved, enveloped, clasped, a treasure saved from the collapse of space. Around him, nameless, infinite, she surged, her spirit fulfilled in his spirit, rich with all time, as if love's deathless moment had been found, a pearl within eternity's white shell. Then out of the engulfing sea of trance, her mind rose drenched to light streaming with hues of vision, and awake once more to time, returned to shape the lineaments of things and live in borders of the seen and known. Onward the three still moved in her soul scene, as if pacing through fragments of a dream. She seemed to travel on, a vision shape, imagining other musers like herself, by them imagined in their lonely sleep. Ungrasped, unreal, yet familiar, old, like clefts of unsubstantial memory, scenes often traversed, never lived in, fled past her unheeding to forgotten goals. In voiceless regions they were travellers, alone in a new world where souls were not, but only living moods. A strange, hushed, weird country was round them, strange far skies above, a doubting space where dreaming objects lived within themselves, their one unchanged idea. Weird were the grasses, weird the treeless plains, weird ran the road, which like fear hastening towards that of which it has most terror, passed phantasmal between pillared conscious rocks, sombre and high, gates brooding, whose stone thoughts lost their huge sense beyond in giant night. Enigma of the inconscient sculptural sleep, symbols of the approach to darkness old, and monuments of her titanic reign, opening to depths like dumb, appalling jaws that wait a traveller down a haunted path, attracted to a mystery that slays. They watched across her road, cruel and still. Sentinels they stood of dumb necessity, mute heads of vigilant and sullen gloom, carved muzzle of a dim, enormous world. Then to that chill, sear, heavy line arrived, where his feet touched the shadowy march's brink. Turning, arrested, luminous Shraddhavan looked back with his wonderful eyes at Savitri. But death pealed forth his vast abysmal cry. O mortal, turn back to thy transient kind. Aspire not to accompany death to his home, as if thy breath could live where time must die. Think not thy mind-born passion strength from heaven to uplift thy spirit from its earthly base, and breaking out from the material cage, to upbuoy thy feet of dream in groundless naught, and bear thee through the pathless infinite. Only in human limits man lives safe. Trust not in the unreal lords of time, immortal deeming this image of thyself which they have built on a dream's floating ground. Let not the dreadful goddess move thy soul to enlarge thy vehement trespass into worlds where it shall perish like a helpless thought. Know the cold tombstones of thy hopes in life. Armed vainly with the ideal's borrowed might, dare not to outstep man's bound and measured force. Ignorant and stumbling, in brief boundaries pent, he crowns himself the world's mock suzerain, tormenting nature with the works of mind. O sleeper, dreaming of divinity, wake, trembling mid the indifferent silences in which thy few weak chords of being die. Impermanent creatures, sorrowful foam of time, your transient loves bind not the eternal gods. The dread voice ebbed in the consenting hush which seemed to close upon it, wide, intense, a wordless sanction from the jaws of night. The woman answered not. Her high nude soul, stripped of the girdle of mortality, against fixed destiny and the grooves of law, stood up in its sheer will, a primal force. Still like a statue on its pedestal, lone in the silence, and to vastness bared, against midnight's dumb abysses piled in front, a columned shaft of fire and light she rose.